Welcome back to another Cats on Guard. Listen, we've been on hiatus. We've had our summer break, and I learned something I've been listening to a lot of podcasts, and I listened to one where a guy was introducing himself first and then his co-host, and they got a fan mail that said, "You're doing it wrong. You should always introduce the other person first." So I'm going to follow that lead. So
Okay.
with this is Cats on Guard. This is the podcast where we open up the flight deck door. We share tales from the sky of things that actually happen, things that most pilots won't tell you about. But we're going to tell you. Doing that today is the lovely, the talented, my co-captain, Richard Million, and I am MC Howe. And today, it's been a while. We haven't seen each other since we took the summer off.
Yeah, this is season 2, the opener.
Yeah, I guess we're going to call it seasons, just like the old TV schedules, right? Before the age of streaming. So yeah, just like that, you have to wait every week to listen to another Cats on Guard, unless you're in the future and then they're all dropped for you. So have at it. That's the way I like to do it. I much prefer binging to waiting a week and antagonizing over what are they going to talk about. So what are we talking about today?
Gonna talk about? Yeah, what are we going to talk
today?
about?
Yeah, let's just get right into it. I'll tell you, 2 things happened recently while I was at work, and oh no, you know what? That was the other preview, upcoming episode, worst jobs at the airport. Here's why I thought of this. I was sitting there waiting to take off, and an airplane ahead of us struck a bird, and some poor soul had to come out and pick up that carcass. And I thought, that's a horrible
Airport
job.
ops, yeah.
Yeah, airport up. But what are the worst jobs? But that's not what we're going to talk about today. I was more excited for that. But thinking about the airport ops, what do? They make things better by picking up that dead bird. But there are other things that go on all over the airport, things that you and I deal with on a constant basis. And usually
unsung heroes of the airport, honestly. I mean, that's the plot. Well, let's save that for episode 2. Let's stick to,
Yeah.
We have a whole episode of those lists. Don't spoil it yet.
All right. So yeah, calling them unsung heroes. So that is a good transition for the sung heroes that really don't have any impact on anything whatsoever, in my opinion. So today's topic is, what do we do? Can we do anything to affect things at work for the better? And I say absolutely not.
Are we just gears in the machine? We don't have any. That's it.
Yeah, we're cogs in the machine. And I brought this up because I was sitting at work one day and I had this new young 30-ish, maybe even 30 FO, and boarding was pretty much done. We were sitting there waiting for bags to load, and he was getting real antsy about it. He's going to go down there and knock some heads around down on the boarding ramp and make sure that how many times have I been through this in my many decades of this career where, you try, you make a phone call, you lean your head out the window and shout, and does anything ever change?
Well, I mean, it changes. Nobody wants it's like everyone complains about change, but also they complain about wanting. So it reminds me of a phrase somebody once told me is, people hate 2 things: change and the way things are.
That's it.
Where like you can change that to like pilots or cops or whatever profession you want to change it to, because people will complain either way. But you bring out a change, people go, "Oh man, I don't want to talk. Why they got to move? Why do they got to change that?" And then if you don't do it, they spend every day at work going, "I cannot believe we have to do it this way," and it just goes on, and you'll never please everybody. So that's why they don't listen to us.
It's no. It's kind of like when we record, and every time you record, only half your face is ever on camera.
Hey,
I would love to see all of you, but that would change the dynamic and it would ruin everything. So
you're welcome. I moved the camera.
So you know what? Move it back. I like Taylor way better.
See, I was trying to save you. I was sparing you. These changes that we want to do, like, I'm going to change the company. I'm going to fix this. I'm going to fix it. This gung ho FO of yours, right? Yours.
Yeah.
And I think everyone maybe in their career at some point goes through that phase.
Oh yeah,
right?
for sure.
Did you have a phase where you were like, I had that phase. I remember it. And I learned something really valuable during that phase. I learned that the changes I'm trying to make to my what do you call it, superiors or the higher ups or whatever.
Yeah.
They don't
The
actually want it.
decision makers.
I'm making more work for them. And when you have changes to make, they have to get approvals for their changes, then they have to process the changes, they have to distribute the changes, they have to get the negative feedback from other of my peers in lower level employment that have a problem with those changes. And then additionally, if you have changes to the manual that they wrote, you're basically telling them that they didn't do a good job on their material.
Yeah. That's a whole other thing. But you said something that really caught me here. You're not only making more work for them, but you're making more work for you by even attempting it. And you're not compensated for any of that. And
No,
that's
you're
why,
right.
yeah, when you're young, you think you can make a difference and you try and you go out of your way. And this happens in every industry. It's not just ours. I'm sure of it. But it's not my job description to make sure the bags get loaded on time. It's not in my job description to assure that, the fuel is loaded on time. It's not, our jobs are very specific. Fly the airplane safely. I'm sure there's a few more things written in there, but
Just a few. It's only a 1,600-page manual.
when we sit there and try to change everything, nothing ever changes. And you're right, everybody's resentful. Now, change of the manuals, like you said, how many times have you had a perfectly good working manual? And there's so many different books that tell us how we're supposed to do this job, right? And we get used to them. And maybe that's part of the problem. We get complacent, but all of a sudden, out of the blue, something changes. Sometimes it's one or two things. Sometimes it's a wholesale manual rewrite. And I have to ask why they did it. And the only answer that anybody ever comes up with is somebody got a new job. They got in this position where they have the authority to rewrite a manual. And so they do it. And that's how they leave their mark. And then they leave the company and go on to the next place where they rewrite the next manuals. That's got to be it because sometimes there's no reason or rhyme why they've done it. Here's a for example.
Are
We get
you wait, hold the example for a second. Do you mean, like, they're doing it because it's their job to do it, or do you mean they're doing it because they have a personal, like, a dog peeing on a fire hydrant? I'm not sure if you mean, like, it's their job to change manuals, they have to change manuals.
think their job is the person in charge of manuals, but
So they
sometimes
need their
there's,
name at the bottom
yeah,
because it's their name now? Okay,
there.
so I thought it was more like a dog peeing on a fire hydrant, like, "Hey, that's my territory now, so here's my name all over everything."
No, well, I think there's part of that, but let me give you an example. You're climbing out, and this is a minor thing, so minor as to be unnecessary. You're reaching your cruising altitude, and everywhere I've ever worked, you call out 1,000 feet before you get there that you're going to get there, right? So the call out could be any one of a million different ways. You could say passing 33 for 34. You could say 1,000 feet to go. Variations of that. So where I've worked, say it's 1,000 feet, 1,000 feet to go, or passing 1,000. So you say that for years and years and years. And then all of a sudden the manual changes. And it's not, oh, we don't say the word passing anymore. We just say 1,000. Oh my God, why? What? How many potential calamities, catastrophes have we managed to avoid because we've been saying passing instead of not saying it? Oh my God, how did we not crash this plane 1,000 times
Ugh,
over because we said the word passing? And now they've
pretty
decided
nitpicky.
it isn't nitpicky. That's the kind of thing that
But
goes on.
I've had, I don't know, 4-ish jobs, maybe 5 over the last couple decades that have different 1,000 to go, call out, 1 to go. So, but I have all the words, right? That's such a it's such an insignificant
It really
quote
is.
unquote, and yet you'll see, and that's what helps you find out who you're flying with for the day too. You
The guy that
deviate from that
actually
one quote
reads
a
the book.
little bit. Well, just deviate from it. Just say 1 taco. There was somebody that used to go 1 taco because if you say 1 to go really fast, it sounded like taco.
Yes.
It's a 1 taco, and it was like, and then you'll find out if you're flying with the guy that that's not what the manual says. You
Oh,
have to
yeah.
say 1,000 to go, or are you gonna get the, tacos, let's get some tacos when we land, and then you're like, "Oh, this is gonna be a cool trip," right? But, like, that was one of those, like, teaser statements you can do to see who you're with.
Well, that's one of those things where, like, when you're getting a line check, when they come out and they check your captains once a year to make sure that they're flying properly and saying all the right things, that's when you learn whether you had a good line check or not. Because if that's the only criticism you have, then you did pretty well. But they have to say something. So they listen for those little things. They're like, okay, this guy,
Did we meet on your line check? That was
we did.
yeah.
That's right. And it went pretty
Yeah.
well.
Yeah, you're welcome. You had a really crappy new FO that somehow didn't. bail you out.
No, but yeah, but you put the paperwork where I liked it. So that
Ah,
was
that's all that matters.
that's it. So
Oh, jeez. All right. So those little things, those little changes, they happen, and somebody made their mark, and then 15,000 pilots have to now adjust to this new thing that one guy wants to do.
that's right.
Can we stop that? Can we? What's the process for being like, hey, there's no review process. There's no person at the operational level. So like people at the top or the training department and management, right? They make these decisions. They have their meetings in dark rooms with fireplaces in the back, right? And they decide this is going to be the way it's going to be. And then thousands of pilots have to now, we don't get a say.
I don't know if that's true. I think there is a say. I think they meet with the union leaders and the chief pilots, and somebody probably signs off on this.
But it's not the average line pilot. You don't get a say.
If you're in that position, though, is that a fight worth having? If you're
Over
the
1,000 feet to go call or
yeah,
over like a bigger operational change? I
over a
mean,
bigger operation, or even that, like if you're in the union leadership and you're fighting over contractual issues, pay issues, all these kind of things that are affecting people's quality of life, are you going to put much effort into fighting that 1,000-foot call? I don't think so.
no, you gotta pick your
Yeah,
battles, I get it.
yeah.
So
So,
you have to adapt to changes even if they're irrelevant changes because we're in a standard operating procedure environment.
but isn't that the corporate way?
Is it?
I don't know.
I don't
You'd
know.
know better than I.
Well, so I wonder if it just depends on, like, the type basically, like, when I was doing cargo, we had so many different everyone's, "We're standard here," and it wasn't true. It was like you want to believe that you are standard, but the next person's gonna believe that they are but you all have your own standard.
That's a
So,
problem.
it's not standard, but I found that in, like, the run of the mill, 121 carriers, your Delta, United, Southwest, whatever, there's a every single step like the manuals are written so clearly and they're so much more standard than other operators and it's you will put your left foot in front of your right foot, then your left foot will go in front of that foot and you'll do that 14 times until you get to the cockpit. It's like that detailed. There's nothing left to fluctuate with or you know what I mean?
Yeah, and doesn't it have to be that way? Isn't it designed that way because we do fly
It
with
is
different
because
people every time?
yeah, two random people who have apparently never met will show up and safely operate this aircraft from showing up at the jetway till getting in the hotel van flawlessly,
Just how much
or
do you think
attempt
the
to.
general public understands that concept? That
I
these
don't
2
think so because
people
the
have
average job,
never met.
there's like chemistry at jobs. You don't. I mean, if you do have random people, you do with Zoom now, and you do these global meetings online. But I don't know how life critical those meetings are.
And also, once that meeting's over, you go your separate ways. You and I are stuck with each other all day for
Oh,
several
oh, that
days.
was boy. That's a whole nother episode of being stuck with the wrong people.
But you have to make it work, and one of the ways that you do that is standardization. So, okay, you might not have any quality conversations about outside cockpit stuff, but at least you get the job done that you're there to do, hopefully.
Yeah, even if I can't stand the guy 1,000 feet from the level off altitude, I have to say 1,000 to go, and they have to say checks or something or whatever they say.
That's right.
Fair enough.
You just said checks. Did you say checks with an S?
But you don't like the X? You don't like the S at the end? Are
No,
you a
no, no.
check
No,
person?
because that's the thing. Sometimes it is checks with an S, and sometimes people say it without the S. And if you do it on the line check, you're going to hear all about it. Or if you do it in, I got one. I was in recurrent training one day, and we were doing our taxi out check. You flight control checks. You move the rudders here, there, and the other way. Or I'm sorry, you move your ailerons, you move your elevator up and down, and then the last thing you move is your rudder. And I said rudders, and the guy stopped the flight. He said, "How many rudders do we have on this airplane?"
Oh, stop. No.
Yeah,
Like it's an
because I
F-15
said
or something?
rudders. Yeah,
Oh,
yeah.
no. Alright, well,
So,
while we're on the topic of slightly weird words for flight control checks, I had a big debate about the yaw damper.
yaw damper or yawl damper?
The YAW, so I've heard dampener and I've heard damper.
Yes.
And we had manuals that said dampener, which is makes that person correct. But if you look at the actual panel, like on the airplane, it just said damper.
I think it is damper.
It could be either way, but if somebody typed it that way in a manual, you've just given that person kind of, the go ahead to use that word. I don't really care. but I would just pick we were friends, so we picked on each other a lot. I'm like, "Damper, no, it's dampener. Damper, dampener," and we just anyway, one of those things, checks and other
Hmm.
things like that. How many rudders do we have on an airplane? Come on now.
Yeah, I know.
Are there any planes with 2 rudders to it? No. The answer no.
I have no idea. But that is the kind of thing that, it falls through the cracks sometimes. And you ask, are there people checking these? There's one guy, of course, there's people checking. I worked in a real job for like a year, and there was this marketing firm, and they would send little documents. Every document that's going to a printer has to be checked and double checked and rechecked and triple checked. And everybody goes around and makes their little marks when they find an error on the page and put their little initials on it. So by the time it gets to the printer, all that stuff should have been corrected. Was it dampener or damper? How many times does it appear on the page? Which way is it written? And then it goes through. And sometimes a mistake gets through for years and years and years. There was one in one of our books, and I can't remember what it was, but everybody would read it. It was in the, well, what's that section that you all have to memorize? The limitation section. And
Oh, that one.
it was just like one letter. It was one letter in a word that changed the word completely. And we all knew what it meant, but it was there for like 10, 15 years. And then somebody finally fixed it. And we were all very disappointed, to be quite frank.
Oh, you could,
Was
like, look at
this-
it and be like, "Ah, it's still in there. There
yeah.
they go. They missed it again." That's funny.
Manual writers, they change their little world, but does anybody else change ours? Like, how many of these guys you fly around with a real company really want to save the company some money? So,
Oh, you gotta get those. Yeah,
oh
I've been
yeah.
there. I've tried, but I stopped doing that.
Yeah, because it
No, but
doesn't do
tell me about them.
doesn't do anything for you. Well, it's like this young guy that I had that brought this whole conversation up. You know, he's gonna get things moving. Hey, we're not gonna be on time if they don't do this. So I'm gonna go down there, and if we're not on time, then that's gonna affect our ratings and amongst all the airlines, and then that's gonna cause people to not book us, and then we're gonna lose money. And so I got to go down there and get the baggage people loading those bags. And I just sat
There
there.
there
I said, "All
So
right, you
Captain
go ahead
America
and
single-handedly saved the airline, its on-time
yeah,
rating by
yeah,
by harassing
yeah,
somebody who's on their union break.
exactly." I'm like, dude, I've tried this. It doesn't work. Nobody cares. Just do the
It's
part
a
that it says you're supposed to do.
it's a phase, right? Like, eventually, you learn that you just can't change anything, and you just stop
Yeah,
doing it,
eventually
right?
eventually you realize you're wasting an effort, and even if you succeed, nobody's going to recognize it. Here's a story for you. Talk about safety. Are we all safety minded? I think we are.
Well, we better be.
That's the idea. So I was coming into Cleveland, Ohio late one night. It was dark. We were like the last plane in, and we pull up to park before we could make the final turn into the gate. And there's nobody there to greet us. None of the ramp people are out there to help us park. And so we call the station on their frequency and no answer. We're calling and calling and calling to no avail. Finally, somebody comes out and it's dark, and when it's dark, all these guys that help us park, they're supposed to have lighted wands. They look like lightsabers out there so
Yeah.
that you can see their little hand motions. Well, nobody has any. So, our book says if it's dark, you got to have them. So I sat there and I waited and I called and I called and I called and nobody answers. And so finally somebody does answer and I say, "Hey, we need you guys to get these lighted wands." So we don't have any. They're all locked up at night. So the things
That's
that
the
you
only
need at
time you
night.
need them, but okay.
So eventually one of the three guys gets a set and he's the main guy that's actually guiding us in. So I figure this is the best I'm going to get. And I turn on my headlights so I can start pulling forward. And I notice something out on the ground in front of us. Now, I don't know what it is. It could be a crack in the concrete. It could be something else. FOD, foreign object debris. But all I know is I'm not going to proceed until somebody goes out and inspects it. So I call and I call and I call. And of course, nobody's on the radio. So these guys are already outside now. I got to get their attention. So I start flashing my lights at them. The FO opens his window and he's dangling out the side of the thing, waving his arms frantically. And what do? They grab some of the orange parking cones, the big parking cones, and they put them on their arms and they start waving us in like they're using this because they think we need these to park.
Is that sarcastic or is that
No, I think this speaks to their intelligence level, which I mean, it's a little bit of a problem solving, although they weren't solving the problem that I currently had. So anyway, finally, somebody comes out, realizes there's something on the ground that I want them to go look, and they pick it up. So it was a thing. They pick it
Good.
up and they walk away with it. So I park.
Do you know what it was?
Yes, I do. I'm getting to that because I decided after we parked, I need to go down and have a little chat with these people. First of all, I said, "What is the deal?" Just like Seinfeld, I said, "What's the deal with these parking things?" I have to cough, but I can't find my mute button. Wait a minute. Hang on. Coughing.
It's okay, I sniffled without mute, so you'll still have to edit it out.
Okay. I said, "What's the deal, you guys? You got to have those parking. You got to have those lighted wands." "Yeah, man, they're all locked up. What do you want us to do, man? Break down the door and get them?" Um.
Uh,
Okay.
you need to park an airplane, you need the
I
equipment to
mean,
park the airplane.
yeah. I said I could sit out there and run out of gas waiting for you. That's well within what I my anyway. I know I'm not getting anywhere with this, so I changed tact. I said, "What was that thing you picked up out there? What was that FOD?" He said, "Oh, it was a rope." It was a rope. Really, it
Oh,
was a rope.
oh, that would have been
So
great in the engine.
oh, well, the thing is that after he picked it up, I watched him and I watched him walk it back and I saw where he put it. So I went and got it and I picked it up. It was not a rope. It was about 30 feet of chain with about inch and a half thick chain lengths for each chain. So you
What
think
the
a
heck was that
rope would
doing
have
out
done?
there?
Yeah, I don't know, but you think a rope would have done some damage? How do you think that chain would have done if I'd have sucked that in?
Boy,
So
that's wild. So and all of your hard work and diligence and procedurally, like, following the manual, and you got what for it?
I got a shrug. I said, I picked up the chain. I said, "This thing, is this the rope you're talking about right here?" The guy shrugs at me. He goes, "Don't get mad at me, brah." So the moral of the story is I filled out a safety report. I took a photograph of the chain with my foot in it so there could be some perspective. I told the whole story. I talked to the supervisor at the station. And what did I hear back? What changed?
Nothing.
Nothing. I waited for months.
You were
Nothing.
expecting to be celebrated, to have, like, a fireworks celebration in
I
your
was
name, or
expecting, at the very best, I was expecting an acknowledgement that I had filled out the report.
boy,
Nothing.
isn't that disheartening?
Yeah,
So we preach, do the right thing even when no one is looking. We preach
yeah,
honesty, integrity, loyalty, blah blah blah. And then you go out and you jump through those flaming hula hoops and you save an engine, millions of dollars worth of engine for the company, and you save these guys their jobs, and what do you get?
yeah. And because I made that big stink, we were like 5 minutes later getting to the hotel that night too. So,
So you got less sleep on the deal too. That
I
was
got less
another
sleep, like five
benefit.
minutes less.
Well, yeah.
No, because I had to fill out
Another
the report
benefit to
too.
doing the right thing. What is that? No good deed
Yep,
goes unpunished. Is that what they say?
that's correct. That's correct.
Yeah.
That's why I don't do any good deeds anymore. I stopped caring.
But well, on the other hand, like, you can't you're still in charge of that airplane. Like, you can't go taxi over that chain and hope for the best because, well, they're not gonna change. You still have to, like, go through the motion of doing the right thing, right? I mean, we
Well,
just can stop expecting acknowledgement for
yes,
it.
everything you just said is correct. However, in my head, I still think to myself, well, you just wait and see what happens the next time I taxi over that chain, and then they'll be sorry, and then they'll change their ways. No,
Yeah,
oh,
except, yeah,
man, I'm
Captain
64, and
MC Howe is
when I'm s-
responsible for the loss of this engine,
when I'm
and he'll be
64
subject to
years old,
retraining
64 years and 364 days, I'll do it.
the day before they kick you out.
Yeah, maybe.
That'll be the day everything goes perfectly. All the lighted wands are there, all the people are there to wave you in. Nothing is missing, nothing is late. It will
No,
go
you
you'll
know
have
what'll be
nothing to complain
missing?
about.
You know what'll be missing? And I don't expect this, but when these pilots retire, they sometimes bring out the fire trucks and they
And
give them
sometimes you
the
don't. Yeah.
yeah. Well, they're gonna have the fire truck and it'll be like clogged, or they forgot to load the water or something like
We'll
that. So
wave
that
at you from the
yeah,
truck.
they'll put the maybe they'll put the orange cones on their arms and wave.
Oh my gosh. That's I wish I could have been there to see that, like, orange cones on people's arms to "Is
It
this
was
orange enough for you, Captain?"
I mean, we saw that and we looked at each other. It's just, really? Wow. Well, I mean, I
Uh
guess this is a little bit ingenuity. Not what I needed.
But so here's the disconnect. You're thinking, "We need a clear, safe area to move this plane to the gate," and you can see FOD, and you don't have what you were told is required for you to pull up to a gate. Now, the non-crew members at home are probably like, "Is this that time when we sat out there on the ramp for, like, 20 minutes for no reason?" Yes, this is that time. That
Yeah.
time the plane stopped and they got on the PA and were like, "Keep your seatbelts on, we're not at the gate yet." It's because we could see the gate. The gate's open. It's right there. It's 100 feet in front of us. But our manuals tell us do not proceed forward in the dark until there are 3 lighted wand people watching the wings and the nose and guiding you down the line, and you'd hope they tell you to stop if they need you to stop, or are they even paying attention, or is this robotic for them?
Half the time they're not paying attention. No, no.
Yeah,
In
then they
fact,
look at you like, "What's wrong with you when you stop?" Because it's not lined up or something. You're like, "This doesn't look right."
I remember one time we were backing out of a gate, we were being pushed back, and I rarely look out the window over my left shoulder, but this day I did, and we were pushing out over a belt loader that somebody had left there, and they just they just pushed right past it, right over it.
But they don't have something like, "Hey, we won't push the airplane unless everything's gone from under it," or
No,
something?
no, they do have that. That was just not adhered to that day, and I said, "What the hell, guys? What are you doing?" "Sorry." And then it was that same pushback. I remember the guy, he told me, "Okay, pushback is complete. Set the parking brake." We were still moving. So
So he's just
who
robotically doing what's next in his
Yeah,
list of things to say.
yeah.
Yeah.
So
It's a good thing you're on your toes. You saved another airplane for the company. You didn't rip holes in the engine or the wing with that
well,
belt
I'm a
loader.
company man.
So,
I'm all about saving money
uh,
for the company.
and what do you get for that? I know people that have saved hundreds of thousands of dollars for airlines doing one thing or another, or coming up with some magical idea, or getting something to catch on. And what do you get as a thank you?
Here, I got one
I
for you.
don't like.
I didn't get a thank you. I kinda got a thank you on this one. I was working at a regional carrier, and, when you're working at a regional, they do contract flying for all the big airlines, the, Deltas and the Frontiers and the Uniteds and whoever's out there. And oftentimes, you're on an airplane that's painted in the colors of those other bigger airlines, and as a pilot, you wear the uniform of the major airline. So we were flying for this one, and then we got a new contract, and we were gonna be flying for a different one.
How does that work? You have to put on 2 uniforms?
Here's the Well, a lot of times, yes, I have heard. Sometimes you can do one flight on, you can do a flight as like United Express, and then your next flight on the same airplane, or, sometimes they have like white airplanes,
An
or you run to
American
a different
Airlines or
airplane.
something?
Anyway, we were wearing the uniform of the airline that we flew for. And then the new contract was going to be for a different airline. And they were starting up a brand new airline basically to do this. So we're all, what do you call? I don't want to get into too many details, but basically we had to get retrained to fly for this new airplane. And one day somebody said, "Hey, we're all wearing this uniform, but we're going to be flying these other airlines now." And somebody said, "Let me look into that." Okay, it's okay. Yeah, yeah. We're going to give you new wings. It's the same jacket and tie. Otherwise, it's the same uniform. And I thought, well, wait a minute. We're wearing the hat with the hat emblem from the previous one. Oh, wait. Let me double check that. Comes back a few minutes later. No hats. No, as
Nice.
a as a hat hater, I was ecstatic at that answer, and as all the other hat haters in the room, hey, I'm the one that brought it up, so, I didn't get a
High
prize.
five.
I maybe got a high five or a thanks, but that's it. That's all you're ever gonna get. You're never gonna get any other kind of recognition.
Hey, that brings up something. You said that the hat haters.
Yeah.
Are there hat lovers?
Well, there are hat lovers. Are you kidding me?
No. No,
Yeah.
really?
Yeah. Oh my
Okay,
god.
what do people I think the number one thing I've seen people with pilots with hats on in the airport get mistaken for baggage handlers more often than, like, the people at the street that grab your bags.
Oh, well, there are some
It just makes
cities
you look like
where
a bellhop.
Let me tell you, there's one airline in particular that has a notorious hat culture. And I'm
Okay.
told, I can't verify this, that when you go to interview with them for a job, one of the questions they ask you is if you are walking through the terminal and you see another of your fellow pilots and his hat is not on his head, what are you going to say to this individual? So yeah, there's
That's I know who
hat
you're
people.
talking about. I think everyone in the industry at home listening knows what we're talking about. But boy, that says a lot about you, doesn't it? Are you gonna stop someone in the jetway, or not in the jetway, but like in the gate outside the bathrooms or the Chick-fil-A line? Excuse me, the company policy is to have the hat on the head when you're outside of the it's like, does that
Yeah.
happen? Does that discussion happen?
I think that happens. I think that there have been chief pilot carpet dances regarding non-wearing of hat,
Yeah. Oh,
hat
I've got a funny story
nonconformity.
for you about the nonconformity. So back when I flew for Masaba, do you remember Masaba?
Yeah. I didn't
Yeah,
think
they
we were
were a
using
regional.
names, but okay.
Well, I mean, they're dead. They're
All
dead
right.
now. Like they
They're
don't
dead and
exist.
gone.
Yeah. So there was a policy at Masaba, and you know what? I'll even use the real numbers. I think starting pay to work there was like 23,700 a year or something. It was,
That was long after I
and you had to
started
fight.
because,
You had to fight to get that job. The
yeah,
times
I
have changed
remember.
so much.
Yeah.
23.7 or 23.9. It was one of the higher paying regional airlines, and I was like, man, I can't believe I got the job. Well, I'm going to fly a jet. You know, like this is
You
what they
living like a
got.
king.
Well, toward the end, I had my ex job lined up and it was gonna pay a lot more. And at that point, my brain was, like, punched out, you know, like, "F this place, I can't believe they got so much work out of me for so little money." I could barely afford the train ticket to get home when I got off the airplane to my house,
Yeah.
right? Um, so I'm walking through there's, like, an underground hallway. I don't know if it was, like, Memphis or Minneapolis, or it was one of the hubs for them. And there's, like, an underground hallway that leads to, like, a crew room and a baggage room, and one of these guys, definitely a hat person, bushy white mustache, I shoulda known it was coming, and I had, like, a 5 o'clock shadow. I shaved yesterday at work and didn't shave this morning, so by the afternoon, I was stubble, and I'll never forget him, "Excuse me there, son, I know it's probably a cool thing to do or something, but, you know, the grooming standards in the manual, say that we need to be, clean shaven during our duty days and in the view of the public," and I was like, I don't know how long closer to punching out I was, but I was, "Listen, when you pay me enough to afford razors, I'll shave every day, but until then, I'll shave when I can afford to shave," and I just kept walking. And he just stood there and he was, like, hesitant to respond. I just remember, and I looked back too to check, and he was still standing there looking at me. Like, he didn't keep walking. He just stood there watching me walk
Oh
away.
my gosh.
And I and that oh boy, I felt so good in that moment. Oh boy, that
I
was
love
a
that
long
for
time
you.
ago.
That's great.
Does that say something about my personality with regards to
Yeah, it does. And I'm jealous because I would have been the guy trying to come up with a reason why I didn't shave or something, like a legit reason, and then thought
Yeah.
later to do. Like the next day, I would have thought I should have done what Captain Richard Million did that day. But, you know, that
I
reminds
don't
me
know.
of
I
a
mean, if I
time.
said, what if that was the chief pilot? I mean, we don't know our chief pilot's faces that often. That could have been
It's true.
somebody, like, really
I don't
high up
even
that
know
I
their
said that
names.
to. Yup.
I had a guy reach over once. I had a similar 5 o'clock shadow or day two shadow, and a guy actually
Yup.
reached over and he scraped my cheek.
No, he touched your
Yeah,
face? That's a
he
hu
touched
that
my
no,
face to see,
no.
and this is the same guy that reached into my bag of M&Ms to help himself. Um,
Oh, man, personal space issues.
oh, yeah, he was a real tool. He was a guy I used to take notes on. He was like after they raised the retirement age to 65 and he got to stay, he was like the turn it back poster child. I used to take a lot of notes about him, but
Oh, but wait, so alright, so we
we're
can't
way off
so
topic here, aren't we?
moral no, it's okay. Moral of the story, we can't change much about how we do the job, but and also, I think on another moral of the story, we don't really get much recognition for doing that stuff, like adhering to.
Like doing the job we're supposed to do? Doing it the way we're supposed to do
Yeah.
it? Yeah.
Yeah, like the manual said, you know, don't taxi to the gate until the area's clear and everyone's got lighted wands and like, okay, cool. And then you go ahead and make everyone's life miserable trying to enforce this law, and you
Mhm.
save the company sucking a chain into the engine, and you don't get anything for it. So that it brings up an interesting like conundrum. Do we continue to press on like strictly adhering to these policies even though they're not benefiting from them, or we really can't deviate from that because in the end it's a responsibility of the two that are sitting there in the flight deck.
Absolutely it is. And are you going to explain in your carpet dance why you broke that rule? Just for the convenience of what? Of your passengers so they get to the gate
Oh, I wanted to get
a
to the
couple
hotel
minutes
5 more
earlier?
minutes sooner.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, this one time I
It's
lost 5 minutes of hotel time, so this time I'm gonna run over that chain with this jet.
that's right. It's all evens out in the end.
Yeah. Boy. Alright, so alright. Are we wrapping it up, or are we gonna put a little couple more things in here? I mean, we
I
got a
don't
couple
think there's a
material,
I
or what do you
mean,
think?
I think we're covering it here more than I care to, and I'm not getting paid extra to do this.
No? Alright, well, I've got a note here about getting bags situated, and I was just curious if we covered that, because I don't remember getting the bags situated.
Yeah, 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 yeah. I see what you're talking about. Yes. Well, this is an instance of when you try to help the company and it goes wrong horribly. horribly wrong. And
So
I told
I
this
can't wait to hear
story.
this.
I believe I told this story last season during our Worst Pilots two-part episode, but I'm going to repeat portions of it. I'm going to tell the whole story. We were on a flight. I was flying with a kid who was the worst pilot that you ever saw. He was one of the worst people that you will ever meet. And he was a new captain, still didn't really know the airplane, didn't know all the limitations of the airplane. The Embraer 145 regional jet that we were flying had a limitation when the weight in the baggage compartment reached a certain number. There was a cargo net that had to be installed to keep everything from moving around. One day we were very heavy on bags. He was late to the plane. I had everything ready, just waiting for him to arrive. And I knew that we were heavy. When he got there, I mentioned it to him. And he said, well, I better go back there and check. So he goes back there during the boarding or, loading process, comes back to the flight deck, says, no problem. I took care of it. I didn't question it. We flew and we ended up doing a diversion. While we were in the diverted airport, our flight ended up canceling and they were going to move all of our passengers over to a different airplane. And he decided that it would be very helpful because they had let the people off the plane, but they had left all of their carry-on luggage on the plane. So they're all walking around the airport having no idea that anything has changed, expecting that their carry-on bags are safe in the overhead bins where they left them. And he got the brilliant idea that it would be so helpful if we would gather up all the carry-on bags and take them over to the other gate to the flight that they're being rebooked on. So he's walking up the jetway with an armload of bags that he's grabbed out of the carry-ons.
Random people's possessions that like
Yes, yes, yes. And a gate agent happened to be coming down at this moment and catches him in the act. Says, "What the hell are you doing with an armload of checked luggage?" And I thought to myself, checked luggage? Wait a minute. These were in the no, do you know what this jackass did? So when I told him that the cargo bay was heavy, he went back there and grabbed a bunch of checked bags at random and started stuffing them in overhead bins. And the reason he did that is because that airplane, the Embraer 145, was always very, very weight restricted, meaning we couldn't load it up in certain conditions with all the bags and people and fuel because it would become overweight and it wouldn't be able to fly safely.
okay, yeah.
However, there was one loophole to that, and it was carry-on bags never added any weight to the airplane.
Yeah, they don't count, they, like, get paired with the passenger or something on the
They were
paperwork.
always counted, they were counted as part of the passenger weight. So if a person is counted as weighing 200 pounds, part of that 200 pounds is their carry-on bag, no matter what's in it.
That's a problem within itself, but that's another episode.
So he threw a bunch of checked bags in the overheads to bring the number down. The problem was these checked bags weren't screened for security reasons. Not
Yeah,
only
yeah,
that,
they don't
but
they have well, they
also,
have different screening. It's, like,
yeah,
different rules.
but also he's grabbing people's personal property and walking around with them. So
Also, like, check bags are supposed to get transferred by ground services to their next plane,
yeah,
and the ones in carry-on overhead, like, the passenger's responsible for moving, so they don't know that their other bag needs to get moved to another airplane. They don't know it's not back there already.
and he got in some trouble with that, and he wanted me to get in some
Oh,
trouble
really?
with him too. Yeah, he goes, "Oh, we better get our story straight." I said, "You better figure out what your story is, because anybody asks me, I'm telling them what happened." But the moral of the story is, don't help, because it just ends up screwing you in the end.
Yep. That was a weird way of helping, though. That was a very
That
that
he
wasn't a
was a
traditional help.
as I said, one of the worst people you'll ever meet. Some people stick with you, you know. You go through this career, decades and thousands upon thousands of people that you're going to fly with. How many do you remember?
Unfortunately, they have to stand out in one direction or the other. The middle of the road ones just don't stick around.
Yeah,
You either
those
get
are my
these really great
favorites.
trips where we do awesome stuff and we'll never forget the random trip to the water park or whatever, or you're like, "I never wanna fly with that person again. Please don't ever do that again." No, there they are on my schedule again.
That's right.
You remember that. Yeah, so
Yeah,
it's the other ends of the spectrum.
yeah. So, uh, you want to be not remembered? Don't offer to help. Don't do anything stupid.
Be mediocre.
Be mediocre. Be adequate. Absolutely.
That's a great motivational bumper sticker. We should spread that around in the airport at the training department. Be mediocre.
Well, that's it. I
But
mean,
I
we
think they
were
already have those. I've seen that mug, the world's okayest pilot.
there you go. I like that. Well,
I wanna be the
and this is
okayest
just an
pilot.
okay podcast, and I don't know if we can do any worse than we have or any better than we have. I'd say we
Hey,
just leave it
season
at the
opener.
mediocre season opener.
I love
There
it.
you go. And the kids are back in school, TV's coming back, and Cats on Guard is back on the air or whatever it's on. Spotify, YouTube, you get it everywhere. Like and subscribe, right? Tell all your friends.
Smash that like button. The kids say these days.
But yeah, we're back. We got more coming up. And I think we gave a little preview of next week. 45 minutes later, I can't remember what we talked about, but we will get back to it. So stick around and come back. I am your co-captain, MC Howe.
Yes, he did it. Co-captain Richard Million.
All right. We'll see you next time, folks. Bye.